Chapter 45:19. Ming Hua Tianzuan charged at one of the Origin Realm elves with all his might. He pushed his Origin Realm sword with all his might and destroyed the arrow of the Origin Realm elves with a single arrow. Then, he continued to slash out with his sword, trying to kill them one by one. However, these three Origin Realm elves were not real living beings. They were formed by the power of the restriction. They could be said to be one entity. Therefore, their cooperation was flawless. The two of them shot out two terrifying arrows that went straight for Ming Hua Tianzuan's forehead and dantian. For cultivators, the forehead and dantian were the most vital points. They were too fast, their timing was too accurate, and their power was too strong. Ming Hua Tianzuan did not dare to agree. He could only use all his strength to block. Naturally, he could not attack one of them. Just like that, the two sides went back and forth for more than 10 rounds, but it was difficult to determine a victor. The aftermath of the battle between the two sides caused severe damage to the ancestral land of the elves. At this moment, the first 6 floors had already exploded and disappeared. The 7th floor was also full of holes. On the 7th floor, many stone towers cracked and many evil spirits rushed out. This was the 7th floor. The evil spirits suppressed here were already extremely powerful. In particular, the evil spirits in each stone tower were even more powerful. They roared and flew around randomly. In the blink of an eye, Ming Hua Tianzuan and the 3 elves exchanged more than 10 rounds, but there was still no victor. Listen up. I'll block the power of the restriction of the elves' ancestral land. You guys go and suppress Lu Ming. Ming Hua Tianzuan shouted to the other experts of the Heavenly Palace. He was also afraid that things would change if he delayed. This was because during this period of time, Heaven Destroyer had sent out many experts to secretly hide in the various star regions of the elves to save some elves. During this period of time, the experts of the Heavenly Palace had fought with these people many times. If time continued to delay, he was afraid that the Origin Realm experts of Heaven Destroyer would come and save Lu Ming. Therefore, he blocked the power of the restriction with all his strength and let the others do the work. Go. Swish. 2 figures pounced in Lu Ming's direction at high speed. They were Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight, the 2 Lord of Heaven. Their reactions were the fastest, and their speed was also the fastest. The first 6 levels had already been destroyed, leaving behind only some wreckage. Of course, since they had just been destroyed, the entire place was still filled with destructive power, and the void was extremely chaotic. Of course, this wasn't a problem for the 2 Lord of Heaven level figures. They charged through and quickly arrived at the 7th floor. Roar, roar, roar. Gia. When the 2 of them arrived at the 7th floor, those evil spirits screamed and charged at them. Mere evil spirits, exterminate. Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight shouted coldly. Their strongest heavenly power erupted, and their divine might was vast and mighty, especially since they both controlled the power of heavenly punishment. Tens of thousands of thunderbolts pressed down, and those evil spirits were struck by the thunderbolts. Their bodies were directly annihilated and turned into ashes. Only those evil spirits guarding the tower were stronger. They blocked the thunderbolts' attack and weren't immediately annihilated, but their light dimmed and they were severely injured. The evil spirits on the 7th floor couldn't stop the 2 Lord of Heaven at all. They quickly broke through the encirclement and arrived at the 8th floor. The evil spirits on the 8th floor were even more powerful, especially those guarding the tower. They were extremely terrifying existences. When Lu Ming and the others came to the last few floors, they didn't dare to open the stone tower at all. In the face of those guarding the tower, even if they had the royal blood of the elves, it would be useless. This was because the evil spirits here were all suppressed by the elves when they were alive. They were extremely terrifying existences. After turning into evil spirits, their strength was still astonishing. A large group of evil spirits charged at Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight, causing great trouble for them. That's right, evil spirits. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The evil spirits here might be a great help to him. Many of the evil spirits in the Evil Spirit Tower on the 9th floor had yet to be released. Lu Ming immediately contacted Ling Yue and asked her to lend him the Holy Tree Seed. Ling Yue naturally wouldn't be unwilling in the slightest. Lu Ming held the holy tree seed and rushed towards a tall stone tower. After arriving at the bottom of the stone tower, Lu Ming directly opened the door of the stone tower. Then, he threw a punch into the stone tower, causing it to shake violently. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the stone tower. Following that, an incomparably powerful aura spread out. Lu Ming hurriedly retreated. Immediately, a terrifying evil spirit rushed out of the stone tower. This evil spirit's aura was incomparably powerful. Its gloomy and cold aura covered the sky and covered the earth, enveloping Lu Ming. Lu Ming shuddered. This evil spirit was absolutely terrifying. Its strength had probably reached the extremely high level of the Divine Master Realm. When it saw Lu Ming, it revealed a sinister expression and pounced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly raised the holy tree seed in his hand. The holy tree seed emitted a hazy light, and a mysterious aura spread out. When the evil spirit sensed the aura of the holy tree seed, its body suddenly stopped. It looked at the holy tree seed with fear in its eyes. Slowly, the evil spirit roared a few times and retreated. Its gaze fell on Ming Hua Tianzuan, who was fighting with the three elves. It hesitated for a moment, as if it was very afraid. It didn't dare to rush over, and could only pace around anxiously. How cowardly! Lu Ming disdained. However, although this evil spirit didn't dare to attack Ming Hua Tianzuan, it should be able to stop Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight from behind. This wasn't bad either. Lu Ming pounced on the next stone pagoda and released the evil spirit in the stone pagoda. Little bastard! Ming Hua Tianzuan roared angrily and wanted to suppress Lu Ming with one palm. However, the three elves wouldn't let him succeed. They kept attacking Ming Hua Tianzuan, leaving him with no time to spare. Soon, Lu Ming opened more than a dozen stone towers on the 9th floor and released Lu Ming's pagoda guardian evil spirits. More than a dozen terrifying evil spirits, leading thousands of other evil spirits, were howling and roaring. It was extremely terrifying. When Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight rushed to the 9th floor, these evil spirits immediately discovered them and rushed towards them. As for the other people from the Heavenly Palace, they could only watch from the outside. With their strength, not only would they not be of help, but they would also be killed by the evil spirits. The evil spirits on the 9th floor were extremely powerful. Yechu of Beach and Yelling Flight were blocked. The two of them rushed left and right, but they couldn't break out of the encirclement of the evil spirits. This made them extremely angry. They had clearly mobilized so many experts, but they still couldn't do anything to Lu Ming. Soon, more than 10 minutes passed. At this time, Lu Ming's face changed and became a little ugly. This was because he found that Ming Hua Tianzuan was gradually suppressing the three elves. The power of the seal is constantly weakening. Lu Ming's face was a little ugly. Yes, the power of the seal was constantly weakening. After all, the power of the seal was dead and limited. In the constant confrontation with Ming Hua Tianzuan, the power of the seal was constantly being consumed. Every time it was consumed, it would weaken a little. Ming Hua Tianzuan was in the origin realm, so his power could be said to be endless. Although it couldn't be said to be endless, it was more resistant than the power of the seal. Chapter 45:20. If this went on, the power of the restriction wouldn't be able to stop Ming Hua Tianzuan for long. Lu Ming, you're too naive to expect this mere restriction power to stop me. Let's see how you're going to stop me when the restriction power is depleted a little more. Ming Hua Tianzuan said coldly. Lu Ming didn't say anything. His expression was ugly. Indeed, when the restriction power couldn't stop the other party, he would have no way out. At this moment, he realized that Ling Yue was calling out to him. Yue, what's the matter? Lu Ming's spiritual sense communicated with Ling Yue through the great desolate ring. Lu Ming, there's another stone pagoda on the 10th floor of the ancestral grounds. There's an extremely terrifying evil spirit suppressed inside. You can release it to deal with the experts of the Heavenly Palace. Ling Yue said. The 10th floor also suppresses an evil spirit? Lu Ming was surprised. In his impression, the 10th floor was a wasteland. Back then, he had only discovered a holy seed mother tree and nothing else. That's right. Over the years, we've been constantly exploring the 10th floor. According to some ancient records, there is indeed an evil spirit on the 10th floor. It's extremely terrifying. It's very likely that it was an origin realm existence when it was alive. Ling Yue said. An existence of the origin realm. Lu Ming's heart trembled. It seemed that an extraordinary figure had appeared among the ancestors of the elves. He could even kill an existence of the origin realm. All right, tell me where it is. I'll go and release it. Lu Ming said. The more chaotic it was, the better. The more chaotic it was, the more chaotic it was. Only then would he have a chance to escape. Let me out, I'll go with you. That evil spirit is extremely terrifying. Even if you have the seed of the holy tree, you might not be able to intimidate it. You still need the power of my bloodline and the treasures of the elves on me to intimidate it. Ling Yue said. Lu Ming originally didn't want to let Ling Yue out, but what Ling Yue said made sense. If he let that terrifying evil spirit out, the seed of the holy tree wouldn't be able to intimidate it. Instead, he would be slapped to death by it. Lu Ming entered the 10th floor and released Ling Yue. Follow me, Ling Yue said, then rushed in a certain direction. Not long after, Lu Ming and Ling Yue arrived in front of a tall hill. This is the place where the evil spirits are suppressed? Lu Ming said. That's right. The stone pagoda is covered by mud. Ling Yue nodded. With a push of her palm, a powerful force surged forward. Ling Yue's meticulous control over her strength was like a cocoon, peeling off all the soil on the surface, leaving only a stone pagoda in front of Lu Ming and Ling Yue. This stone pagoda was different from the other stone pagodas. Around this stone pagoda, there were a few smaller stone pagodas. They were like guards, protecting the larger stone pagoda. In order to open the door to the large stone pagoda, one must destroy these small stone pagoda. These small stone pagoda have sealing power. Ling Yue said. All right, there's no time to lose. Let's go. Lu Ming said as he punched out, hitting a small stone pagoda. With a boom, the small stone pagoda shook violently, but only a small corner was broken. So hard. Lu Ming was surprised. These stone pagodas are made of special materials. Lu Ming, use your divine armament to bombard them. Ling Yue said. Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, the war god's spear appeared in his hand. Wong. The war god's spear trembled and pierced towards the small stone pagoda. With a boom, the small stone pagoda exploded. On the other side, a battle bow also appeared in Ling Yue's hand. Source-level divine armament. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The source-level divine armament battle bow in Ling Yue's hand was not the one from before. The one from before was a blood-stained Elven King bow. The blood-stained Elven King bow should only be a main-level divine armament, but this one was a source-level divine armament. The elf clan has existed for countless years. In history, there have been 3 origin realm experts. It's normal for them to have a source-level divine armament as their inheritance. Lu Ming pondered. Ling Yue shot out an arrow, and a careful stone pagoda was blasted apart. There were a total of 8 small stone pagodas. The 2 of them attacked consecutively, and very quickly, the 8 small stone pagodas exploded. Rumble. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but after the 8 small stone pagodas exploded, Lu Ming felt that the large stone pagoda trembled, as if the evil spirit inside had awakened. Lu Ming, be careful. Ling Yue whispered with a solemn expression. Lu Ming nodded. He did not approach the stone pagoda. Instead, he used his taboo energy to form a large hand and opened the door of the stone pagoda. As soon as the door opened, Lu Ming and Ling Yue's figures quickly retreated. This was because they could feel an extremely terrifying aura spreading out from within the door. It was like a tide that swept out in all directions. This aura was extremely cold and evil, as if it wanted to devour everything. Lu Ming grabbed the seed of the holy tree in his hand. Ling Yue stirred her blood, and the elven royal bloodline erupted with all its might. At the same time, the battle bow in her hand also emitted a dazzling light. Roar! An incomparably terrifying roar came from within the stone pagoda, and then an evil spirit crawled out. This evil spirit was like a lizard, but it had 9 heads and 3 tails. Its body was hundreds of meters long, and its 2 evil eyes stared at Lu Ming and Ling Yue. With a slight twist of its body, it arrived not far from the two of them. Lu Ming felt his body tense up, and cold sweat involuntarily appeared on the surface of his skin. This was a reaction that would only appear when facing a terrifying expert. Origin Realm. Lu Ming was sure that this evil spirit was extremely terrifying. It made Lu Ming feel as if he was facing an Origin Realm expert. This evil spirit's gaze moved back and forth between Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Of course, it was mainly looking at the seed of the holy tree in Lu Ming's hand and the battle bow in Ling Yue's hand. Lu Ming felt as if his heart was about to jump out of his throat. If this evil spirit attacked them, then they would really die. Fortunately, this evil spirit only glanced at them a few times before turning around and leaving. Its 9 heads roared, and the space was directly torn apart. It took a step forward and appeared on the 9th floor. Then, it pounced at Minghua Tianzun. Its 9 huge mouths bit at Minghua Tianzun. "Mere evil spirit, purify for me," Minghua Tianzun roared. Sword light erupted as he fought with the evil spirit. Boom, boom. The two collided continuously, causing devastating attacks. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions, and the world on the 9th floor constantly exploded. Huge cracks continuously spread, even extending to the 10th floor. The 10th floor also shook violently, and huge cracks appeared on the ground. Now, the power of the restrictions in the Elven ancestral land had weakened, and its defense had been greatly reduced. In a battle between Origin Realm experts, it could not be stabilized at all. The entire Elven ancestral land was being torn apart and collapsing. Not good. Lu Ming and Ling Yue's expressions changed drastically as they quickly retreated. In the sky, there were a few huge cracks that spread towards them from afar. Chapter 45-21. Minghua Tianzun and the evil spirit engaged in an intense battle. However, although the evil spirit was in existence at the Origin Realm when it was alive, after turning into an evil spirit, its strength had been affected and it was no longer at its peak. However, with the addition of the 3 Elven experts formed by the power of the restrictions, they could still fight against Minghua Tianzun. Slash, slash, slash. Minghua Tianzun was furious. His long golden hair fluttered in the wind as the Origin Grade Battle Sword in his hand moved unhindered. Sword Chi after Sword Chi had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Some of the Sword Chi was blocked by the evil spirit and the restrictions, but some of the Sword Chi directly slashed into the void and the ground. Boom, boom. The void exploded and the ground sank. The first 8 levels of the world had completely exploded. The 9th and 10th levels were also constantly exploding. The world exploded, forming a destructive force that swept in all directions. Lu Ming and Ling Yue constantly flashed, dodging the chaotic flow of space. Yue, enter the chaos ring. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a powerful suction force enveloped Ling Yue, sending her into the chaos ring. He quickly retreated, heading towards a place where there was no explosion. However, the area of the 10th level that was not destroyed was getting smaller and smaller, and the place he could stay was also getting smaller and smaller. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a terrifying killing intent envelop him, causing the hairs on his body to stand on end. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense, and his expression changed drastically. It was Yechu of Beach. He had actually broken through the evil spirit's defense and was rushing towards Lu Ming. His eyes were cold and filled with ferocious killing intent. The strength of a Lord of Heaven was too strong. The chaotic void turbulence and the chaotic destructive power did not affect him at all. The supreme power of heaven burst out and rushed through. The only thing he had to pay attention to was the aftermath of the battle between Minghua Tianzun and the evil spirit. As long as he avoided these aftershocks, he would be fine. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming. Let's see where you can run to now. Yechu of Beach sneered, his face incomparably malevolent. Yechu of Beach's killing intent soared to the extreme as soon as he thought about how Lu Ming had killed Yechu Tianji. Soon, Yechu of Beach was about to reach the 10th floor. Unfortunately, I'll have to disappoint you. Lu Ming's indifferent voice rang out. He glanced disdainfully at Yechu of Beach before charging into a large spatial crack. The spatial rifts here were different from the spatial rifts in the universe. This was because the elven ancestral land was being destroyed and exploding. The spatial cracks here were extremely chaotic and filled with terrifying destructive power. It was extremely dangerous. Even if an ordinary divine lord rushed in, they would be torn to pieces. Do you want to die? Yechu of Beach roared and rushed into the 10th floor at an extremely fast speed. However, Lu Ming was already nowhere to be seen. He was furious and rushed into the spatial crack as well. In the huge space crack, there was a chaotic and destructive force everywhere, constantly rushing toward him. He activated the power of heaven to block it and scanned his surroundings. However, all he could see was boundless darkness, and he had lost track of Lu Ming. Damn it! Yechu of Beach roared. His supreme power of heaven erupted and broke through the chaotic destructive power. He rushed in a direction, but he still couldn't find any trace of Lu Ming. He changed his direction again, but he still couldn't find him. In the pitch-black chaotic void, he couldn't tell his direction or position. It was as if even time had stopped. Yechu of Beach continued to look in several directions, but he still couldn't find Lu Ming. He had no choice but to retreat. Where's Lu Ming? Minghua Tianzuan shouted when he saw Yechu of Beach come out alone. Yechu of Beach's face turned ugly. He said, Sky Sovereign, Lu Ming is missing. Missing? You piece of trash. Minghua Tianzuan roared. He wanted to go and find Lu Ming personally, but he was entangled by the evil spirit and the restrictive power. He couldn't rush over it all. Send someone to seal off the surrounding space immediately. Once you find Lu Ming, send me a message immediately. Minghua Tianzuan shouted. Yes. Yechu of Beach and the others quickly received the order and sent someone to seal off the surrounding space. If Lu Ming was fine, he would probably appear in the nearby space. According to Yechu of Beach's conjecture, Lu Ming was most likely dead. This was because he knew how terrifying the chaotic destructive power was. Anyone below the 7th tier of the Divine Master Realm would probably die if they entered. However, Lu Ming had a taboo body and possessed great fortune. They had to treat him with caution. Lu Ming was currently in a miserable state. The chaotic destructive power of the void was too powerful. Although it couldn't do anything to Yechu of Beach, the difference in cultivation base between him and Yechu of Beach was too great. The chaotic destructive power was a fatal threat to him. The moment he charged into the dark void, the chaotic destructive power kept attacking him. The secret art he used to protect himself was instantly torn apart. The terrifying power slammed into Lu Ming's body. Waves of piercing pain spread throughout his body. His skin was torn apart, and his muscles were torn apart. Finally, his bones and internal organs were torn apart and destroyed by the chaotic power of destruction. Charge! Charge! Lu Ming used all his strength to open a path with the War God Spear. He chose a direction and charged forward. However, the destructive power around him kept surging toward him. As the destruction on the 10th level became more and more intense, the destructive power it produced also became stronger and stronger. Puff, puff. Lu Ming's muscles were torn apart and then turned into powder that dissipated in the air. It looked too wretched. Soon, Lu Ming was covered in blood. Bam! Then, one of Lu Ming's legs exploded, followed by his arm, and then his body. Lu Ming's body was constantly being destroyed. In the end, he could only use his mind to control the War God's Spear and continue charging forward. Finally, Lu Ming broke through the encirclement of the chaotic destructive power and came to a calm dark void. However, Lu Ming was also severely injured. His body was in tatters, and even his consciousness was a little blurry. His vision turned black, and he couldn't even lift his eyelids. I can't faint. I have to hold on, Lu Ming roared in his heart. He used his remaining strength and flew forward, disappearing into the dark void. When Yechu of Beach chased after him, Lu Ming had already broken through the chaotic destructive area. Lu Ming felt that he had spent a long time, but in fact, only a few breaths had passed. After flying for a distance, Lu Ming's consciousness became more and more blurry. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and fainted completely. His body also floated in the eternal dark void, drifting to an unknown direction. After a long time, Lu Ming woke up in a daze. I'm still in the dark void. How long have I been unconscious? Lu Ming whispered, and then checked his condition. His body had already recovered to its original state. His physique was too strong. As long as a single cell survived, his body could be regenerated. Evidently, his body had repaired itself while he was unconscious. Chapter 45:22. When he was in a coma, his cells would recover automatically. When he woke up, his body had completely recovered. However, his aura was still weak. His cultivation was far from recovered. Lu Ming immediately took out a pile of divine elixirs from his storage ring and swallowed them all. He refined the elixirs and recovered his cultivation. About half a day later, Lu Ming had recovered to his peak state. This time, it was really close. Lu Ming exhaled. Fortunately, he was decisive enough at the critical moment and directly charged into the spatial rift to escape. Fortunately, his life force was tenacious enough, and he managed to survive by the skin of his teeth. Let's go. With a thought, Lu Ming tore the void with both hands. The void was directly torn open, and bits of starlight sprinkled in. It seems that I am still somewhere in the starry sky of the primitive universe. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward. He left the dark void and returned to the primitive universe. Looking up, he saw stars embedded in the starry sky. Not far away, a huge star was burning fiercely. Where am I? Which starry sky am I in? Let's go and find out. Lu Ming thought for a while. Then, he randomly chose a direction and flew forward. As he flew, his appearance and aura of the origin of life rapidly changed, turning him into a young devil wreathed in dense devil chi. His current speed was so fast that he could cross a starry sky with one step. Lu Ming left him in the dust. Soon, Lu Ming arrived on a huge planet with life. With his status as a demon, others would treat him with respect. It was very easy for him to find out the information he wanted. The Flying Cloud Star Area Group. I can't believe I am in such a remote place. It seems that I have been drifting in the dark void for a long time. Lu Ming was a little surprised. The Flying Cloud Star Area Group was very far away from the starry sky where the elves lived. This place was closer to the Taishu dynasty. It was a very remote place in the primitive universe. Lu Ming had actually drifted all the way here in the dark void. One could imagine that he had been unconscious for a long time. I never expected that I would come here. It's just nice. I was planning to return to the Taishu dynasty and bring my parents, the divine wilderness, Qi and company to the universe ruins. It saved me a lot of time. Lu Ming smiled. Now that he had a treasure like the Chaos Ring, he had long wanted to go to the Taishu dynasty and bring his family and friends to the ruins of the universe through the Chaos Ring. After all, Lu Ming was only at ease in the ruins of the universe. In the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming was always worried. It would be troublesome if someone from the Heavenly Palace found them. Without hesitation, Lu Ming took a nearby wormhole and headed toward the Taishu dynasty. 2 days later, Lu Ming arrived at the Sacred Fire Saber sect. The Sacred Fire Saber sect was barely a universe-level force. It had a divine emperor and was the closest universe-level force to the Taishu dynasty. When Lu Ming came out of the Taishu dynasty, the first place he went to was also the Sacred Fire Saber sect. After arriving here, Lu Ming tore the void and rushed toward the Taishu dynasty. Although the Sacred Fire Saber sect was still very far away from the Taishu Sacred dynasty, given Lu Ming's current cultivation level, it only took him 10 minutes to traverse the vast starry sky and reach the core of the Taishu Sacred dynasty, the Taishu Sacred capital. I'm finally back. Looking at the ancient city floating in the air in front of him, which was the Taishu holy capital, Lu Ming sighed with emotion. It had been 1,000 years since he left. 1,000 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, Lu Ming was no longer the Lu Ming of the past. When he left the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming's cultivation had just broken through to the Divine Emperor realm. Now, he had reached the Divine Master realm. In between, he had crossed the 3 major realms of Divine Emperor, and Divine Emperor. To cross 3 major realms in 1,000 years, this kind of cultivation speed was enough to scare people to death. Back then, he was inconspicuous in the vast chaotic universe. Any one of the major forces in the chaotic universe could suppress him. Now, he was famous in the chaotic universe and had become a top expert in the chaotic universe. Time could change a lot, and it could also make people grow. I wonder how my old friends are doing now. Xin Huang, Qi Er, Xiang Xiang, and Imoli. How are their cultivation levels? But they should be in the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence. I'll go to the Holy Capital first and see if Lan Shu and the rest are willing to go to the Universe Ruins with me. It won't be too late to go to the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence then. Lu Ming smiled and walked towards the Great Illusionary Holy Capital. When he was close to the Great Illusionary Holy Capital, Lu Ming released his spiritual senses and covered the entire Great Illusionary Holy Capital. He was looking for the Blue Merchant. With Lu Ming's current cultivation level, it was easy for him to cover the entire Great Illusionary Holy Capital with his spiritual senses. He could see clearly what everyone was doing in the Great Illusionary Holy Capital. Moreover, no one could discover him. Found him. Lu Ming smiled faintly. With a flash of his figure, he disappeared from the spot. After Lu Ming disappeared, more than 10 figures flew out of the Taishu dynasty's city walls and came to the place where Lu Ming had been. Where is he? Why did he disappear? He was too fast. I couldn't see how he left. He must be a top expert. Did you notice that the person looked very similar to the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King? I noticed it too. Could it really be the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King? He's back? That's possible. The Hidden Dragon Heavenly King has been gone for more than 1,000 years. It's normal for him to come back and take a look. Quick, let's report this to the Saint King. These people did not dare to delay and rushed into the Great Illusionary Holy Capital to report to the new Saint King, Jingma, and the old queen, Kong Shishue. In the Great Illusionary Holy Capital, in a huge garden, the Blue Merchant was holding a water bottle and watering the flowers. The Blue Merchant's cultivation level had been destroyed, and he had focused on cultivating spiritual powers. Soul power and cultivating God power were poles apart. These years, Shi Yin had been cultivating his mind and temperament, growing flowers and grasses. His soul power had improved even faster. Lan Shu, you're in a good mood. All of a sudden, a clear voice rang out. At first, the Blue Merchant was shocked. Someone had appeared behind him, and he had not sensed it. His spiritual powers were very strong, and his spiritual senses were very sharp. In the Taishu dynasty, the Barbarian tribe, and the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty, only the Undying Demon Lord could do this. However, judging from the voice, it was not the Undying Demon Lord. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Lu Ming. The Blue Merchant immediately thought of Lu Ming. His eyes lit up, and he quickly turned around. If the young man standing behind him was not Lu Ming, who else could it be? Speaking of which, Lu Ming's current body was different from before. Regardless of whether it was his appearance or life origin aura, they were all different. If it was his original appearance and life origin aura, the Blue Merchant would not have recognized him. However, before Lu Ming came, he had used the Great Imitation skill to change his appearance and life origin aura to be exactly the same as Lu Ming's. The Peak. Chapter 45-23. Lu Ming, you're back. Blue Merchant was pleasantly surprised to see Lu Ming. Lan Shu, it's been 1,000 years. Lan Shu's cultivation has become more profound. Lu Ming said with a smile. Lan Shang specialized in cultivating his soul power. Lu Ming discovered that Lan Shang's soul power was already very profound. It had reached the peak of a Lord God, and his soul power was surging. Of course, in Lu Ming's eyes, there was nowhere to hide. Lu Ming could see everything clearly. Blue Merchant had obtained the soul cultivation crystal and had made great progress over the years. Lu Ming, your cultivation has also made great progress. I can't see through your cultivation. Have you broken through the peak of the Divine Emperor Realm and reached the Divine Emperor Realm? Blue Merchant said. After saying that, he was shocked. He clearly remembered that when Lu Ming left back then, his cultivation level had just broken through to the Lord God level. Within a short span of 1,000 years, Lu Ming was able to cross a huge realm, break through the limit of the Lord God level, and become a God Emperor. This was too shocking. After all, 1,000 years was too short. The Taishu dynasty, the barbarian tribe, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty had not had anyone reach the divine emperor realm for countless years. Only the undying demon lord who had reached the divine emperor realm a few dozen years ago. If it were someone else, he would find it hard to believe. However, Lu Ming gave him the feeling that he was a bottomless pit, unfathomable. "You can say that," Lu Ming said with a smile. He did not tell Blue Merchant his current cultivation level. "Lu Ming, you've really reached the divine emperor realm? Why don't we exchange a few blows?" Lan Shangdao's interest was piqued. This, Lu Ming wanted to refuse because there was no need to exchange blows. The gap was too big. He was afraid of hurting Blue Merchant. "Someone's coming." Suddenly, Lu Ming looked in a direction. There were a few figures walking in the air at an extremely fast speed. "Heavenly King Hidden Dragon, it's really you." A pleasant voice was heard. It was Kong Shishue. Next to her was the current divine emperor, Jingma. This young man looked almost the same as Jingyu. Behind Jingma and Kong Shishue were a few important officials of the Taishu dynasty. "Your Majesty, Your Highness." Lu Ming casually cupped his fists. In fact, with his current cultivation, there was no need to bow to greet them. But he was an old acquaintance of Heavenly King Hidden Dragon. He was just a casual greeting. Anyway, he was not the kind of person who was particular about it. "I knew it. When Heavenly King Hidden Dragon returns, he will definitely come here," Jingma said with a smile. After the battle between the Taishu dynasty, the barbarian tribe, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty, the Taishu dynasty established a new structure. Lu Ming was given the title of Heavenly King Hidden Dragon. The Heavenly King Hidden Dragon residence occupied half of the Taishu dynasty. As for Lan Shang, he was the imperial advisor. "Heavenly King Hidden Dragon is back. You must be tired from the long journey. Let's set up a banquet to welcome you back," Kong Shishue said. Lu Ming didn't refuse. Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and Kong Shishue came to a hall. A banquet was already set up in the hall. As soon as Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the others arrived, a few people hurried over. "Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're back." A laugh came from outside the hall. Then, a tall and burly figure stepped out. "Etion." Lu Ming smiled. It was Etion, the leader of the three generals under Jingyu. Now, he was in charge of all the troops of the Taishu dynasty. Heavenly King Qiansheng came with Etion. "Greetings, Heavenly King Qiansheng." Lu Ming bowed solemnly. When he was in the Taishu dynasty, Heavenly King Qiansheng had helped him a lot. Without Heavenly King Qiansheng's help, Lu Ming wouldn't be who he was today. Lu Ming respected Heavenly King Qiansheng from the bottom of his heart. No matter how high his cultivation level was, this respect would never change. "It's good that you're back." Heavenly King Qiansheng was full of smiles. At this time, a strong pressure came from outside. Then, a burly figure stepped in. Undying Demon King. Lu Ming didn't need to look to know that it was Undying Demon King. Undying Demon King walked in with his hands behind his back. He didn't even look at Jingma, Kong Shishue, and the others. His eyes fell on Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you're finally back." Undying Demon King grinned. His eyes shone brightly. His aura was so strong that it filled the hall with a strong pressure. "Demon King, you're here too? That's great. Please take a seat," Kong Shishue said quickly. She was in awe of Undying Demon King. It couldn't be helped. Undying Demon King was invincible in the Taishu dynasty, the barbarian tribe, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty. When they faced Undying Demon King, they had to be careful not to offend him. "I've been out for a long time. Of course, I want to come back and see my old friend." Lu Ming smiled and didn't care. He realized that Undying Demon King's cultivation level had been fully restored. In other words, Undying Demon King's cultivation level had reached the Divine Emperor realm. However, would Lu Ming care about a Divine Emperor realm expert? "Come, everyone, please take a seat," Jingma said quickly. Although he was the Great Void Sacred Emperor, he didn't have any loyal experts around him. To put it bluntly, he couldn't afford to offend anyone here. The Undying Demon King smiled and sat down with big strides, not bothering to be polite. Then, Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, Etion, and the others took their seats. Naturally, someone came up to pour wine for them. Lu Ming, where have you been in the past 1,000 years? How is it? Are there many experts out there? Undying Demon King spoke first. Yes, there are indeed many experts out there. Lu Ming nodded. You must have made great progress over the years. I can't see through your cultivation level. Have you broken through to the Divine Emperor realm? Undying Demon King said. To be honest, he was shocked. When he came in, he stared at Lu Ming carefully. He realized that he couldn't see through Lu Ming's cultivation level, which shocked him. Back then, Guimo had placed a seal on him, and he didn't dare to resist Lu Ming. However, now that his cultivation level had been restored to the Divine Emperor realm, he had changed his mind. The Divine Emperor realm was much stronger than the Divine Emperor realm. He wanted to suppress Lu Ming and force Lu Ming to remove the seal on him. However, when he realized that he couldn't see through Lu Ming's cultivation level, he was afraid and temporarily suppressed the idea of attacking. Divine Emperor realm? Hearing Undying Demon King's words, Etian, Holy Thousand King, Jingma, and Kong Shishue were shocked and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Could it be that Lu Ming had really reached the Divine Emperor realm? This was too shocking. Their thoughts were similar to Blue Merchant's. It was terrifying to step into the Divine Emperor realm in 1,000 years. For them, the Divine Emperor realm was the synonym of invincibility. You can say that. Lu Ming smiled. It was the same answer that he had given Lan Shang previously. It was still the same sentence. He was afraid that if he said it out loud, it would scare everyone present. You can say that? Undying Demon King was puzzled. The summit. Chapter 45-24. The Undying Demon King was puzzled. Sort of? What did that mean? Did he reach it or not? In 1,000 years, he broke through to the Divine Emperor realm from the Divine Lord realm. This is unbelievable. Could it be that Lu Ming did not break through to the Divine Emperor realm and was just bluffing? But his aura is unfathomable. Even I can't see through it. Could it be fake? Could it be that he has cultivated some kind of secret technique that can change his aura? That's why I can't see through it. The unkillable Demon King stared at Lu Ming, pondering constantly in his heart. Undying Demon King, why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Lu Ming said indifferently. Haha, you're really a young hero. Lu Ming, I knew that you're not an ordinary person. You've reached the Divine Emperor realm in such a short time. Coincidentally, my cultivation has also recovered to the Divine Emperor realm. Why don't we have a fight? The Undying Demon King laughed and stood up. His body was surrounded by demonic light and his aura was imposing. Since he couldn't figure out Lu Ming's cultivation, he might as well try to see what Lu Ming's cultivation was. Anyway, it was just a fight. If Lu Ming really reached the Divine Emperor realm, he would still have room to retreat. Undying Demon King, do you really want to have a fight with me? Lu Ming said indifferently. He glanced at the Undying Demon King, and a ray of light flashed in his eyes. A faint killing intent flashed in his eyes. At this moment, the Undying Demon King's body suddenly stiffened. His muscles trembled involuntarily, and his skin broke out in cold sweat. A chill ran from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have become an incomparably terrifying beast in his eyes, and he seemed to have become an ant. The ferocious beast was glaring at him like a tiger eyeing its prey, as if it could blow him to death with a casual breath. Terrifying, terrifying, terrifying. Undefeatable, undefeatable, undefeatable. The Undying Demon King roared in his heart. His face was covered in cold sweat. He had a feeling that he was nothing more than an ant in front of Lu Ming. If Lu Ming wanted to kill him, he could do it with just a thought. In his heart, he was deeply shocked, incomparably shocked, and incomparably incredulous. Lu Ming's killing intent was only directed at the Undying Demon King. The others didn't feel it, and it only lasted for a moment before it was withdrawn. Plop. The Undying Demon King felt his legs go soft. He couldn't even stand properly and sat down on the chair. He found that his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. He's definitely a cultivator of the Godly Emperor layer. He's not just a cultivator of the first Godly Emperor layer. He's probably already a cultivator of the third Godly Emperor layer. How did he practice cultivation? It's too terrifying. Undying Demon King roared in his heart. He was sure that Lu Ming had broken through to the godly emperor layer and was much stronger than him. He had probably broken through to the third godly emperor layer. He was incomparably shocked. This cultivation speed was too terrifying. Undying Demon King, didn't you want to spar? Why are you sitting down? Lu Ming said indifferently. Ha ha ha, I was joking, No, I was just joking. Don't be impulsive, young man. Don't be impulsive. The Undying Demon King laughed guiltily, but his smile was uglier than crying. Blue Merchant, Holy Heavenly King, Etian, Kong Shishue, Jingma, and the others looked at Lu Ming and the Undying Demon King suspiciously and astonishingly. They knew the Undying Demon King very well. He was an extremely overbearing and meticulous person. He had just proposed to spar with Lu Ming, so he wouldn't cancel it for no reason. Besides, he was covered in cold sweat and looked like he was about to die. Was he afraid of Lu Ming? Lu Ming was shocked. How powerful was Lu Ming now that he could make the unkillable Demon King, the old demon, so afraid of him without batting an eyelid? They were imagining things. Lu Ming, you're going to stay for a while this time, right? Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King asked after a long while. No, I'll be leaving soon. The main reason I came back this time is to take my parents away from here and cultivate elsewhere. Lu Ming said. Cultivate somewhere else? Is it a higher level place with a better cultivation environment? Blue Merchant and Holy Heavenly King asked quickly. Yes, if you're willing, you can come with me. Lu Ming said. As far as I know, places with better cultivation environments are usually occupied by powerful forces of the universe. It's very dangerous for powerful races to occupy a place. The Undying Demon King said. He was a divine emperor and had gone out to explore in the past. He knew a little about the outside world. Don't worry, I've got a firm foothold now. There won't be any danger. Moreover, the cultivation environment there is 100 times better than the Tegza dynasty, Lu Ming said. What? The cultivation environment there is 100 times better than the Taishu dynasty? The Undying Demon King, Holy Heavenly King, Blue Merchant, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. 100 times better than the Taishu dynasty. What kind of cultivation environment is that? At the same time, they were very tempted. For example, the Undying Demon King, Holy Heavenly King, Etian, and Blue Merchant's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. It was too difficult for them to break through. Blue Merchant was better. He still had potential. With the soul-cultivating crystal, he might be able to break through to the divine emperor realm in the future. However, it was almost impossible for the Undying Demon King, Holy Heavenly King, and Etian to break through. But they didn't have the courage to leave and go to a more advanced place. If what Lu Ming said was true, that the cultivation environment there was 100 times better than the Taishu dynasty, they really had a chance to break through the bottleneck and take another step forward. Especially Holy Heavenly King and Etian, who were both at the quasi-emperor realm. If they were one step closer to the divine emperor realm, their lifespan would skyrocket. Lu Ming, I'll go with you. Anyway, I'm old and don't have much time left. It's good to go with you. Holy Heavenly King was the first to speak. Lan Shang and Etian were hesitant. They were the Grand Master of the Taishu dynasty and the commander of the Taishu dynasty's army. They were in a high position and were reluctant to give up. In addition, Jingma and Kong Shishue didn't speak. The two of them definitely wouldn't leave. If they left, wouldn't the Taishu dynasty be handed over to others? Lu Ming, I'll go with you too. The Undying Demon King thought for a moment and gritted his teeth. All right. Lu Ming nodded. His eyes fell on Blue Merchant and Etian. He said, Are you willing to go with me? I won't force you, but I can guarantee that if you go with me, breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm won't be a problem. When Lu Ming spoke, he revealed strong confidence as if there would be no problem. This made Etian and Blue Merchant excited. All right, I'll go with you. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming, I'll go with you too. A cultivator should focus on cultivation. I was almost delayed by mundane matters. Etian nodded. Chapter 45-25. The temptation of breaking through to the divine emperor realm was too great. In the end, Blue Merchant and Etion decided to give up their power and follow Lu Ming. That hidden dragon heavenly king, Kong Shishue, opened her mouth, looking like she wanted to say something but hesitated. Are you afraid that if Lan Shu and the others follow me, the Taishu dynasty will be empty without any experts? Lu Ming smiled and saw through Kong Shishue's thoughts. Kong Shishue and Jingma nodded repeatedly. In the Taishu Holy Dynasty, the barbarian tribe, and the Tianyi Holy Dynasty, the quasi-emperors were the most powerful cultivators. They were the cornerstones of a country. Now, there were too few cultivators in the Taishu Holy Dynasty. There was only Blue Merchant, Etion, Holy Old Heavenly King, and the Undying Demon Lord. Although 1,000 years had passed, there was still no new quasi-emperor in the Taishu dynasty. Once these people left with Lu Ming, the strength of the Taishu dynasty would weaken rapidly. In the future, it would be annexed by the barbarian tribe and the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Therefore, Jingma and Kong Shishue were very worried. Don't worry, I have my own plans for this matter, Lu Ming said. With a wave of his hand, 8 wild beasts appeared in the hall. To be precise, 8 wild beast puppets. These 8 puppets have the cultivation of quasi-emperors. They are not afraid of death and are invulnerable. They will be placed in the Taishu dynasty to protect the country's fate and ensure the safety of the Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming said, What? 8 quasi-emperor level puppets. Kong Shishue and Jingma were shocked and then overjoyed. Holy Old Heavenly King and the others could not calm down. This was really a big move. 8 quasi-emperor level puppets were sent out in one go. These puppets were extremely precious. In the history of the Taishu dynasty, there had never been such high-level puppets. Not to mention 8, even one of them was invaluable. Lu Ming gave 8 of them to Jingma and Kong Shishue. If this was not a big deal, what was? Lu Ming became more and more unfathomable in the hearts of the people. Thank you, Hidden Dragon Heavenly King. Jingma and Kong Shishue quickly got up to thank him. Lu Ming smiled slightly. In fact, there were many such gadgets. He had lost count of how many enemies he had killed and how many rings of holding he had obtained. There were all sorts of things in these storage rings, and there were even more of these puppets. Lu Ming could even take out quite a number of God Thearch realm puppets, let alone quasi-emperor puppets. However, these things were useless to Lu Ming now. Of course, Lu Ming would not give them puppets that were too powerful. For example, he would give them divine emperor puppets. Kong Shishue and Jingma's ambitions might soar, and they might invade other forces. In the end, they would attract the jealousy of more powerful forces and bring about a fatal disaster. Jingma was very likely to be Jing Yu's son. Lu Ming naturally did not want anything to happen to them. 8 quasi-emperor level puppets were enough to ensure the stability of the Taishu dynasty. This jade talisman has the method to control the puppets. Lu Ming handed a jade talisman to Kong Shishue. Kong Shishue and Jingma naturally thanked him. Hidden Dragon Heavenly King, can we send some young people to cultivate with you? Kong Shishue asked tentatively. Lu Ming smiled in his heart. Kong Shishue wanted to cultivate her own forces. However, Lu Ming did not care. The Taishu dynasty was too small. Lu Ming was not interested in it at all. He immediately nodded and said, Of course. Thank you, Hidden Dragon Heavenly King. Come, let me toast you. Kong Shishue was overjoyed. She raised her cup and drank it in one gulp. Then, everyone drank and chatted. The atmosphere was harmonious, especially the Undying Demon Lord. He seemed to have forgotten the unpleasant things that had happened before. After 3 rounds of drinking, Lu Ming got up and said goodbye. Everyone, please get ready. I'll go back to the Hidden Dragon Palace and pick you up later, Lu Ming said. Then, he stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, let me see you off, Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming nodded. He knew that Blue Merchant had something to say to him in private. Soon, the two of them left the Taishu Saint capital and stood in the starry sky. Lan Shu, I have something to ask you too. Is Lan Ling doing well? Why don't I see her in the Taishu Saint capital? Lu Ming asked. When he mentioned Lan Ling, he could not help but feel guilty. I was about to tell you about Ling Er. She's no longer in the Taigza dynasty. Blue Merchant said. She's no longer in the Taishu dynasty? Where did she go? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. About 200 years after you left, she also left. She said that she wanted to go out to train and improve her cultivation. I don't know where exactly she went. Actually, she's very stubborn. When she decided to leave, even I, as her father, could not stop her. I could only let her go. I wonder how she is now. Sigh. Blue Merchant sighed deeply as he spoke. He suddenly felt that his decision back then was wrong. Back then, he wanted to match Lu Ming and Lan Ling. However, Lu Ming's talent was too high. When his cultivation increased, it was like a hot knife cutting through butter. Now, it was even more unfathomable. To put it bluntly, Lan Ling and Lu Ming were not on the same path. The difference in talent was too great. They were not compatible at all. If he had not tried to match Lu Ming and Lan Ling back then, this would not have happened. Lan Shu, I'm sorry. Lu Ming was full of apologies. He recalled the scene of him bidding farewell to Lan Ling before he left. At that time, Lan Ling stubbornly said that she would catch up to Lu Ming's cultivation. She would definitely catch up to Lu Ming's cultivation. Back then, Lu Ming said that he would wait for her to catch up. Perhaps it was because of these words that Lan Ling went out to explore. She was really a stubborn girl, just like Mulin's back then. Lu Ming, you don't have to apologize. Marriage is a matter of mutual love. I was muddle-headed back then. Blue Merchant smiled. Lu Ming was speechless because he really did not know what to say. Sigh now. I just hope that Ling can be safe. Blue Merchant sighed. The primitive universe was vast and boundless. There were as many universe-level forces as there were hairs on an ox. It was very dangerous to wander in the universe. He only hoped that Lan Ling could be safe. Lan Shu, don't worry. Lan Ling is a good person. She should be fine. When she succeeds in her cultivation, we will meet again in the future. Lu Ming comforted. I hope so. Okay, I will go back and prepare. You should go and see your parents. Blue Merchant said, and then went to the Taishu sacred capital. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. He then stepped into the air and headed toward the Heavenly King Mansion. Just as Lu Ming left the Taishu sacred capital, the Wu people's ancestral planet welcomed two groups of guests. Everyone in the Wu people, including the ancestral patriarch who had been in seclusion, came out to welcome the guests outside the ancestral planet. These two groups of guests were from the 10 most powerful races, the angel race and the blood race. Did you really find out where Lu Ming's family is? An overlord of the angel race stepped out. His body was enveloped in a pure white light, and his energy was so violent that the sky shook. This was a divine lord overlord. Chapter 45:26. Feeling the powerful aura of the angel tribe, the people of the sorcerer tribe trembled in fear. Although the witch race was one of the top races in the universe, it was still a far cry from the angel race, one of the top 10 races. There were only 2 people in the sorcerer tribe who could remain calm. They were the 2 ancestral patriarchs of the Wu people, and they were both very old. If Lu Ming were here, he would definitely recognize one of them. He was the grand cultivator of the Wu people who had chased Lu Ming to the dragon race's home planet. Lu Ming had killed his descendant, and he had been trying to kill Lu Ming. He had even participated in the attack on the dragon race's home planet. The 2 ancestral patriarchs of the Wu people were also divine lords, but they were only at the first level of the divine lord realm. On the great desolate 10,000 races roll, only the top 100 great races had divine master experts overseeing them. However, those with high cultivation and many years of cultivation knew that the races that were ranked near the top 100 also had divine master realm existences overseeing them. It was just that these people were usually in seclusion all year round. As the existences who were responsible for suppressing the fate of their race, they rarely made a move. The Wu people were ranked around 130th on the roll of 10,000 races, so it was normal for them to have divine lord realm overlords. It's true. After many years of investigation, we finally found where Lu Ming came from. He came from a place called the Taishu dynasty. That's only a pseudo-universal force, and it's too remote. No one would have thought that the talented Lu Ming would come from such a remote place, but Lu Ming was indeed born there. Besides, his family and friends are all there. The Divine Lord Realm Overlord said. His name was Wu Si, and he was one of the only two Divine Lords of the Wu people. Good, very good. Ha ha ha. As long as we take down Lu Ming's family and hand them over to the Heavenly Palace, Lu Ming will obey us. The Heavenly Palace will reward you handsomely. The Divine Lord of the angel race laughed. At the side, the blood kindred expert also smiled. When the time comes, please put in a good word for us in front of the Heavenly Palace, Wu Si said, revealing a flattering smile. However, he secretly felt that it was a pity. If they had captured Lu Ming's relatives and handed them over to the Heavenly Palace, the rewards from the Heavenly Palace would have gone to the Wu people. However, the Wu people didn't have the right to establish contact with the important figures of the Heavenly Palace. They could only do so through the angels and vampires. However, if he could make a great contribution to the heavenly human tribe, he would definitely be rewarded handsomely. Their hearts burned with passion. Don't worry, there will be plenty of benefits for you. Now, let's go, said the angel race's godmaster. Immediately, the angels, vampires, and Wu people headed towards the Taishu dynasty. The angel race and the blood race each sent out two divine masters. The Wu people had sent out a divine master, Wu Shi. With such a lineup, it was a waste of talent to go to a pseudo-universe level force. Of course, this also proved that they valued Lu Ming's relatives. They had to make sure nothing went wrong. As long as they captured Lu Ming's relatives and friends, even if Lu Ming was hiding in the Heaven Destroyer, the Heavenly Palace would be able to force Lu Ming to submit, unless Lu Ming didn't care about the lives of his relatives. However, according to the rumors, Lu Ming was a very loyal person. It could be said that once they captured Lu Ming's relatives, they would have Lu Ming's Achilles heel. Just as the angels, vampires, and Wu people were heading towards the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming had already arrived at the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence. He was too fast. He could cross a planetary zone in one step. Even though the Great Illusionary Divine level was far from the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence, Lu Ming arrived quickly. Not bad at all. Lu Ming looked at a planet in the distance. On the planet, there was a dazzling glow. That was the glow of an array. Around the planet, there were huge battleships flying around the planet, surrounding it so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. However, such a defense was useless against Lu Ming. He took a step forward and passed through the layers of defense. He entered the planet and came to the foot of a mountain range. He scanned the area with his spiritual awareness and knew that this mountain range was where his relatives and friends lived. It was also where the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King residence was located. This statue, isn't it Emoli? Lu Ming saw a huge statue at the foot of the mountain. It was at least 10,000 feet tall. He immediately recognized that this was the statue of his second disciple, Ouyang Emoli. How dare you call Patriarch Emoli by his name? Are you tired of living? A few young men shouted and appeared in front of Lu Ming. They looked at Lu Ming with hostility. Lu Ming casually glanced at them. He was very clear about the background of these few young men. The few youths looked like they had just broken through to the empty god realm. Such a cultivation was considered weak in the Taishu Holy Court. However, they were very arrogant. Patriarch Emoli? This kid has become a patriarch? Lu Ming was confused. Could it be that these few brats were all Ouyang Moli's disciples and grand-disciples? In that case, wouldn't they become Lu Ming's disciples and grand-disciples? He went out for a trip, and when he came back, he suddenly had a bunch of disciples and grand-disciples? Most importantly, these kids are so arrogant. Did Ouyang Emoli teach them? Lu Ming blurted out these words involuntarily. However, when they landed in the ears of the few young men, it was a great disrespect to their patriarch. They immediately exploded. How dare you call Patriarch Emoli a kid? It's over. It's over. Do you know who our Patriarch Emoli is? What is his identity? He actually dares to use such a tone to call Ancestor Moli. He's really finished. Now, give him a chance to admit his mistake. Kneel down in front of Patriarch Emoli's statue and kowtow. Patriarch Emoli is a magnanimous man. Maybe he will spare your life. The young men clamored. You want him to admit his mistake in front of the statue? Are you serious? Lu Ming said with an inexplicable smile on his face. Would this kid dare to admit his mistake to Ouyang Emoli? Nonsense. Hurry up and admit your mistake. We think it's an unintentional mistake. We will spare you this time. Yes, 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 quickly admit your mistake. You have offended the patriarch. You must admit your mistake. The young men shouted. All right then. Let's see. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward, coming to the front of the statue. Kid, my disciples want me to admit my mistake. I hope you won't cry. After saying that, Lu Ming cupped his fists. Rumble. The moment Lu Ming cupped his fists, the statue shook. Then, tears flowed out of the statue's two huge eyes. The statue was crying. Look, the patriarch's statue is crying. What's going on? What's going on? Could it be that kid's doing? Kid, what did you do? You still dare to play tricks at this time? The young men shouted angrily, thinking that it was Lu Ming's trick. Shut up, all of you. At this time, a loud roar came from the mountain range. Chapter 45:27. Shut up, you brats. A loud roar came from the depths of the mountain. At the same time, a figure dashed out from the mountain at an extremely fast speed. In the next moment, the figure appeared in front of everyone. He was tall and sturdy, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. Who else could it be other than Ouyang Moli? Old ancestor, you're here. Old ancestor, it's him. He offended you. We were about to ask him to admit his mistake, but we didn't expect him to play tricks. The young men pointed at Lu Ming and said, Shut up, all of you. Ouyang Moli roared. His voice was like a thunderclap, and he stared at the young men fiercely like a lion. Ouyang Moli was about to cry. Don't these brats know how to read my face? My face is already so ugly, and they still don't know what's going on? The few young men shuddered at the thought of this. Old ancestor is angry? Did we do something wrong? Is that person's identity not simple? In the next moment, their pupils rapidly widened because a scene that shocked them had appeared. Plop. Ouyang Moli knelt in front of Lu Ming and kowtowed. Disciple Moli greets Master. Master, you're finally back. I haven't seen you for many years, and I've missed you so much. What? The young men were petrified. Their mouths were wide open, and they were completely dumbfounded. Master? Old ancestor Moli's master? Isn't that their ancestor? According to the legends, old ancestor Ouyang Moli's master was the true leader of the hidden dragon Heavenly King Mansion, the legendary figure of the Taishu dynasty, the peerless genius. They were actually so arrogant in front of this legendary figure, and even asked him to kowtow to Ouyang Moli's statue to admit his mistake? No wonder Ouyang Moli's statue was crying. They all wanted to cry. You're so impressive now. You're already an old ancestor, and the disciples you taught are still so arrogant? Are you out of control? Lu Ming said indifferently. His voice was a little cold. Oh no, Master is angry. Ouyang Emoli roared in his heart. He was really about to cry. In his heart, he was already cursing those few youths to death. He was not far from this place and could sense the statue. Not long after Lu Ming arrived, he sensed it and immediately rushed over. Unexpectedly, he was still a little late. However, he secretly rejoiced that he had arrived in time. If Lu Ming had really apologized to his statue, he would have vomited blood. Even if he wasn't hammered to death by Lu Ming, he would be hammered to death by his senior martial sister, Xiang Xiang. Master, it's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. You brats, why aren't you coming over here to kowtow and apologize to your grandmaster? Ouyang Moli shouted. A few young men hurriedly ran over and knelt on the ground, bowing their heads and kowtowing. Patriarch, please calm down. We didn't do it on purpose. We didn't know it was you. If we had known, we wouldn't have dared to do it even if you gave us 10 guts. Ancestor, you are a magnanimous person. Please forgive us. The few young men were crying in snot. There was no need to mention how sad and regretful they were. Master, these brats are used to being fawned on by others. No one dares to offend them in the hidden dragon, Heavenly King Palace. That's why they're so arrogant. I'll teach them a lesson in the future. Will you forgive them? Actually, they are not bad people. Hee hee. Ouyang Moli put on a cheeky smile and pleaded with Lu Ming. Go, go. Lu Ming waved his hand casually. He was too lazy to lower himself to the level of a few juniors. It would be beneath his status. However, the most important thing was that these young men were not bad people. This could be seen from their previous actions. The few young men only asked Lu Ming to apologize to Ouyang Moli and let him go. It could be seen that they were not bad people. If they were bad people, they might have wanted to kill him. If that was the case, Lu Ming would not let them go so easily. Master has agreed to let you go. You brats, why aren't you thanking Master and leaving at once? Ouyang Moli berated. The few youths naturally thanked him profusely and fled as fast as they could. Master, it's great that you're back. Senior sister and the others will be overjoyed if they know that you're back. I'll send them a message. Ouyang Moli immediately took out his sound-conducting jade talisman and sent over a few messages. Master, come with me. Ouyang Moli said with a smile. Lu Ming and Ouyang Moli stepped into the air and headed deep into the mountain range. How did you become a progenitor? Did you recruit a disciple? Lu Ming asked. Haha, Master, at that time, I saw a few very talented seedlings. My hands itched and I accepted them as my disciples. I didn't expect that those brats would also accept a bunch of disciples each. Just like that, they have been passed down. Ouyang Moli explained. No wonder your cultivation is improving so slowly. What about your senior sister? Did she recruit a disciple too? Lu Ming said. He knew that Ouyang Moli was only a 9th-layer heavenly god. Initially, Zhang Xian had predicted that Ouyang Moli would be able to achieve a breakthrough to the God King realm based on the vast amount of resources he had left behind before he left. However, Ouyang Moli was only a 9th-layer heavenly god, which was a lot lower than what he had expected. It was most likely because he had recruited a disciple that affected his cultivation progress. She didn't recruit a disciple and has been focusing on her cultivation. She has already broken through to the Divine King realm. Ouyang Moli said, What about Shen Huang and the others? Did they recruit a disciple? Lu Ming asked again. No, I'm the only one who recruited a disciple. Ouyang Moli said awkwardly. They're here. Lu Ming suddenly looked deep into the mountain range. There were at least a few dozen figures flying over. Lu Ming's eyesight was so sharp that he could see the figures clearly even though they were far away. His parents, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping, flew over with smiles on their faces. There was also his son, Lu Shenhuang, his wife, and his granddaughter, Lu Qi's first disciple, Xiang Xiang, his 2 unnamed disciples, Hua Qi, Pang Shi, Yuan Huan, and the others who were closest to Lu Ming had all arrived. Soon, dozens of people arrived before them. Ming-er. Li Ping flew to Lu Ming quickly and sized him up from head to toe. Her eyes were filled with tears and longing. You're a woman. You're always tearing up when you see me. Lu Yuntian pretended to scold her, but his eyes were misty too. He looked at Lu Ming and said, It's great that you're back. Father and mother have both achieved the God realm. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense and discovered that Lu Yuntian and Li Ping had both achieved the God realm. Lu Yuntian had even reached the true God realm. Lu Yuntian had always been fond of cultivation. After coming to the Eldritch universe, he had worked even harder. Although his talent was average, he had also reached the true God realm with Lu Ming's vast resources. As for Li Ping, she didn't like cultivation at all. She was just an ordinary person and had relied on Lu Ming's resources to increase her cultivation. Chapter 45-28. After entering the immortal state, one would have a long lifespan, at least a stellar year. Lu Ming didn't have to worry about Lu Yuntian and Li Ping's lifespan anymore. Grandpa! As soon as Lu Ming greeted Li Ping and Lu Yuntian, a crisp voice sounded and a figure jumped into Lu Ming's arms. This figure was naturally Lu Qi. Him. Qi'er, you're not a little girl anymore. Why are you still acting like a child? Lu Ming coughed and said, Humph, Qi'er will always be a child in front of Grandpa. Who dares to gossip? Lu Qi snorted coldly. The corners of his mouth rose as he looked around. Lu Yuntian, Ouyang Moli, Yuan Huan, and the others burst into laughter. Qi'er, don't mess around. Lu Shenhuang walked over and scolded with a stern face. However, Lu Qi made a face at Lu Shenhuang and stuck out his tongue. He held onto Lu Ming's arm and refused to let go. Shenhuang, don't worry. Seeing that Lu Shenhuang was about to scold Lu Qi again, Lu Ming raised his hand and stopped Lu Shenhuang. Lu Ming doted on this eccentric granddaughter very much. Shenhuang, your cultivation has fallen behind. Even Qi is catching up to you. Lu Ming glanced at Lu Shenhuang's cultivation and said, Dad. Lu Shenhuang's face turned red and he looked a little embarrassed. Grandpa, Dad doesn't like to go out and take risks, but I'm different. I travel and adventure. I want to be as great as Grandpa in the future. Lu Qi waved her little fist and said, This guy didn't hesitate to betray his biological father. Lu Ming nodded. He noticed that Lu Shenhuang's cultivation had just reached the Immortal King realm. Lu Qi's cultivation had reached the 9th level of the Heavenly God realm, similar to Ouyang Moli. Logically speaking, Lu Shenhuang's talent was the highest among the juniors, even higher than Xiang Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and Lu Qi. However, his cultivation was only slightly higher than Ouyang Moli and Lu Qi, but not as high as Lu Xiang. Lu Qi was right. Lu Shenhuang didn't like to travel or take risks. He liked to be with his family. It was better when he was young, especially after he got married and had a family. On the other hand, Lu Qi was a mischievous person who liked to take risks and travel everywhere. It was just that he lacked some opportunities, otherwise, his cultivation would be even higher. Qi, are you married? Lu Ming asked curiously. Lu Qi was not young anymore. He had long reached the age where he could get married. No, there are a lot of people pursuing me, but I don't like any of them. Lu Qi shook his head. Father, this girl's standards are very high. She said that she wants to find a genius like father. Where can she find one? When you come back, you have to discipline her. I have a headache, Lu Shenhuang mumbled, causing Lu Qi to give him a sidelong glance. The others burst into laughter. Master! A fragrant wind drifted over. Xiang Xiang slowly walked over and bowed to Lu Ming. Lu Xiang wasn't the little girl she used to be. She looked like she was in her 20s. Her figure was slim, and her beauty was outstanding. She wasn't below Autumn Moon, Huang Ling, and the others. Xiang, your cultivation base isn't bad. Lu Ming nodded satisfactorily. Among them, only Xiang's cultivation base satisfied Lu Ming. 6th King God Realm. This was Lu Xiang's cultivation base. Her cultivation speed was already amazing. Xiang's talent was amazing, and her willpower was even stronger. She had been following in Lu Ming's footsteps, constantly moving forward. It's a pity that she lacks some opportunities. I can bring her to the ruins of the universe and let her practice more. Her cultivation base will have an explosive period. Lu Ming pondered. Next, Lu Ming exchanged a few pleasantries with the rest. They chatted as they walked. Soon, they arrived at a large hall. Naturally, someone set up a banquet to welcome Lu Ming. During the banquet, Lu Ming also explained his purpose for coming back this time. He wanted to bring everyone away and head to a cultivation place that was 100 times better than the Taishu Sacred Dynasty. In fact, Lu Ming was not exaggerating. The base of the Heaven-Exterminating Army in the ruins of the universe had Origin Realm powerhouses who had improved the environment and created a sacred cultivation ground. The actual cultivation conditions were probably 100 times better than those in the Taishu Sacred Dynasty. Everyone was moved. At the same time, they were extremely tempted. A place 100 times better than the Taishu Dynasty? What kind of place was that? Wouldn't their cultivation base advance by leaps and bounds if they cultivated there? Immediately, everyone agreed. They trusted Lu Ming completely. Moreover, cultivation was the most important goal for cultivators. They were different from ordinary people. Ordinary people were particular about staying in a place for a long time. They would treat that place as their root and would not leave easily. However, cultivators were different. In order to increase their cultivation base, they would travel and train everywhere. They would go to some dangerous places. They didn't have a fixed residence. Their goal was to increase their cultivation base. Therefore, if there was a place 100 times better than the Taishu Dynasty, everyone wanted to go. They were all looking forward to it. As for the Hidden Dragon Heavenly King's residence, it was nothing compared to the increase in cultivation. Any one of them would be able to manage it. All right then. You can start preparing. I have a treasure that can form its own world. It's extremely huge. You can take it with you as many people as you want. Those who want to go together can go together. Lu Ming said, "All right." Everyone nodded and left one after another to make preparations. Lu Yuntian and Li Ping didn't leave. They had nothing to prepare. They just wanted to chat with Lu Ming and talk about what Lu Ming had been through during this time. "Oh right, Ming-er, where are Xiaoqing and Autumn Moon? How have they been all these years? Have you seen them?" Li Ping asked. The two of them were her daughter-in-law, and they hadn't seen each other for many years. Naturally, she missed them very much, especially Autumn Moon, who was obedient. They had watched her grow up. Back then, Autumn Moon had gone missing while searching for Lu Ming. They were extremely worried because there had been no news of her for so many years. "Father, Mother, don't worry. Xiaoqing and Autumn Moon are fine. They are waiting for us at the place we are going." Lu Ming smiled. Good, that's great. Hearing that Xian Yinqing and Autumn Moon were fine and that they would be able to meet soon, the old couple was very happy. "Father, Mother, let me introduce you to someone," Lu Ming said. With a wave of his hand, Autumn Moon appeared in front of the old couple. "This is..." The old couple sized up Ling Yue and were both stunned by her appearance and temperament. As the elf princess, Ling Yue had once been ranked as one of the 20 most beautiful women in the universe. There was nothing to say about her temperament and appearance. "Father, Mother, her name is Ling Yue. She is the princess of the universe's great elves and also your future daughter-in-law." As Lu Ming introduced her, he walked to Ling Yue's side and held her small hand. Hearing Lu Ming's introduction, Ling Yue's face turned red like an apple. She looked even more beautiful as she bowed to the old couple and said, "Yue greets uncle and aunt." Chapter 45-29. Looking at Ling Yue, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping were in a daze. It took them a while to react. Li Ping hurriedly held Ling Yue's hand and looked up and down. Her face was full of smiles as she said, Good. Ling Yue only blushed and lowered her head, not knowing what to say. "Yue, you should enter the great desolate ring first. I still have something to say to my parents," Lu Ming said. He mainly wanted to avoid Ling Yue from feeling awkward. All right." Ling Yue quickly nodded. She felt that the pressure from facing Lu Yuntian and Li Ping was even greater than facing the Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the great desolate ring produced a suction force, sending Ling Yue back into the ring. Cough, Minger. Aren't you too fickle in love? You already have Autumn Moon and Xiaoqing. I remember that Miss Mullins and Miss Wang Ling were also quite close to you. Why did you find another elf princess now? Lu Yuntian coughed dryly. What's wrong with that? It's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Moreover, my Minger is so outstanding, it's normal for girls to like him. Li Ping immediately spoke up for Lu Ming. In her heart, the more daughter-in-law, the better. Is it normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Then should I also? Lu Yuntian muttered. What did you say? Li Ping's voice suddenly rose as her eyes widened. Ahaha, no. Nothing? Pinger, you look so good today, huh? Lu Yuntian hurriedly laughed to cover it up. Humph. Li Ping snorted coldly. Lu Ming snickered at the side. So this father of his was actually so afraid of his wife. This was the first time he had discovered it. Little brat, you're gloating, aren't you? If you dare to say a single word about what happened today, I won't forgive you. Lu Yuntian sent a sound transmission to Lu Ming, flying into a rage out of humiliation. Lu Ming's smile immediately disappeared, and he pretended as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't seen anything. After that, Li Ping asked about Lu Ming's experiences over the years. Lu Ming only talked about a part of it. Of course, Lu Ming would not talk about the dangerous parts. For example, being captured by the heavenly human race and sent to the heavenly prison. Very quickly, 2 days passed. Outside the hidden Dragon Royal Palace, there was a vast and spacious area filled with people. These were all people who wanted to follow Lu Ming to the new place. The total number of people added up to at least 10 million. After more than 1,000 years of development, as well as the time when he was in the chaotic Star River, Lu Ming's family and friends had a lot of people. Putting everything else aside, just the Lu clan alone had been passed down for dozens of generations and had an astonishing number of people. There were also the descendants of Hua Qi and Pang Shi, who were already a colossus. Tens of millions of people were not a lot. Of course, not everyone left with Lu Ming. Some people were reluctant to give up the power here and decided to stay. For example, a portion of the Lu family intended to stay behind. Lu Ming did not reject them and allowed them to continue managing the Hidden Dragon, Heavenly King Mansion. Lu Ming also left behind a few quasi-emperor puppets to help them guard the Hidden Dragon, Heavenly King Mansion. Lu Ming would not force them to stay or leave. He only wanted the people closest to him to go with him. He did not care about the others. After all, they had brought all the living beings from the primordial realm out of the heaven realm. Now, they were scattered in the chaotic Star River, the Qintian Starfield, and the Taishu dynasty. The number was shocking. Lu Ming did not care about these people anymore. He would let them develop on their own. Lu Ming would not reject those who wanted to go with Lu Ming. For example, the ancestor of techniques, the ancestral dragon, the 9 lives demonic silkworm, the Titan longhorn beetle, and a group of old comrades who had fought together with him in the past. They were all willing to go with Lu Ming. Lu Ming naturally would not reject them. Gate, open. Lu Ming stood in the air and shouted. He activated the ancient desolation ring with all his might. Suddenly, a huge whirlpool appeared in the sky. It was 1,000 miles wide. Go in. Lu Ming's voice rang out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The densely packed silhouettes soared into the sky and disappeared into the vortex. The 1,000 miles wide whirlpool was shocking. Tens of millions of living beings entered the ancient desolation ring in no time. Only Lu Ming was left in this area. To the Taishu sacred capital. Lu Ming took a step forward and headed towards the Taishu sacred capital. However, before Lu Ming left, the Taishu sacred capital was already in danger. The experts from the Angel tribe, the Blood tribe, and the Wu people had already surrounded the Taishu sacred capital. Jingma, Kongshishue, the Undying Demon King, the Holy Old Heavenly King, Etian, and the rest were trembling in fear in front of the experts from the 3 tribes. It was mainly because the other party was too terrifying. When the other party arrived, the strongest army of the Taishu dynasty could not withstand a single blow. The other party only sent one person and only used one move to wipe out the 100,000 strongest army of the Taishu dynasty. Nothing was left. Even the Undying Demon King was drenched in cold sweat when facing the person who attacked. He was extremely terrified. The other party was too powerful. The Undying Demon King knew that he was no match for the other party. If he attacked, he would only die. He would end up like the 100,000 strong army. Moreover, this was only one of the hundreds of people who had walked out casually. The Angel tribe, the legendary Angel tribe, Jingma, Kongshishue, the Undying Demon King, and the rest were terrified. They could recognize the person who attacked because he had extended his angel wings. The enemy they were facing was the legendary Angel tribe. Although the Taishu dynasty was extremely remote, they had heard rumors about the Angel tribe. They were the overlords of the universe. They were extremely powerful and dominated thousands of star regions in the universe. Compared to the Angel tribe, the Taishu dynasty was like the difference between an ant and a divine dragon. The other party could wipe out the Taishu dynasty with a single breath. Now, such a powerful person was actually looking for them. Was the Taishu sacred dynasty going to be finished? Jingma and Kongshishue turned pale. May I know why all of you have come to the Great Void Holy Court? Jingma asked in a low voice. We're here to find Lu Ming. An elder from the Angel tribe spoke. This elder was a divine master realm expert from the Angel tribe, named Yelu Chuan. You don't have to deny it. We found out that Lu Ming is from the Taishu dynasty. His family and friends are all in the Taishu dynasty. Tell us, where are Lu Ming's family and friends? Yelu Chuan continued. Are they Lu Ming's enemies? At this moment, Jingma, Kongshishue, the Undying Demon King, Blue Merchant, and the 1,000 Holy Old Heavenly King were moved. The difference was that Lanshang and Old Heavenly King Qiansheng were extremely anxious. Lu Ming had actually provoked such an enemy and was about to face a calamity. They were extremely anxious and wanted to send a message to Lu Ming, asking him to bring his family and leave. However, under the surveillance of the Angel tribe, the Blood race, and the Wu people, they couldn't do it. Chapter 45-30. Everyone from the Taishu dynasty had many thoughts in their minds, but no one said a word. You'd better tell us quickly. Otherwise, the Taishu dynasty will be annihilated. Yelu Chuan said, You want us to betray Heavenly King Hidden Dragon? Dream on. If you want to kill us, then kill us. At this moment, a brawny man shouted. This man was a general of the Taishu dynasty, an 8th-level divine lord. He had received Lu Ming's favor back then and was loyal to Lu Ming. How dare you disrespect the divine lord? You're courting death. A brawny man from the angel race shouted coldly as his eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Bang! The 8th-level divine lord general of the Taishu Holy Court exploded, his body and soul destroyed. Lan Shang, Undying Demon King, and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't even see how the brawny man from the angel race attacked. They only heard him shout, and the body of an 8th-level divine lord of the Taishu dynasty exploded. What kind of method was that? Silently killing an 8th-level divine lord without making a sound, making the other party unable to fight back. Even the Undying Demon King couldn't do it. The difference was too great. The experts of the angel race were unfathomable. Apart from the angel race, there were 2 other forces that were also terrifying. How could they fight against such enemies? And what kind of realm was the divine lord? Jingma, Kongshishue, Blue Merchant, Undying Demon King, and the others were confused. They had never heard of the divine lord realm. Blue Merchant, Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King, and the others only knew of the divine emperor realm. In their eyes, the divine emperor realm was the synonym of invincibility. When Undying Demon King was at his peak, he had gone out to explore the universe. However, he only went to a few of the bigger forces, and the strongest he knew was the divine lord realm. Was the divine lord realm a higher realm? I advise you not to hide anything. Our strength isn't something you can guess. If you don't tell us, you'll end up miserable. Yelu Chuan said coldly. Jingma, Kongshishue, and the Undying Demon King all looked hesitant. For Jingma and Kongshishue, Lu Ming was their savior. It could be said that without Lu Ming, they wouldn't be where they were today. If it was not necessary, they would not betray Lu Ming. As for the Undying Demon King, he was very afraid of Lu Ming because of the anti-magic restriction placed on him by the Bone Devil. If he really betrayed Lu Ming and Lu Ming didn't die, then he would be in trouble. As for Blue Merchant, Holy Old Heavenly King, and Etion, they would never betray Lu Ming. Therefore, no one spoke for a while. Looks like you guys are still holding on to hope. Don't you know what I'm capable of? Yelu Chuan said coldly. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the universe. Then, Jingma, Kongshishue, Undying Demon King, Blue Merchant, Holy Old Heavenly King, and the others narrowed their eyes and opened their mouths in shock. Huge stars could be seen hanging in the distant starry sky of the universe. At this moment, 5 huge stars suddenly moved towards them. They were very fast. Soon, not far from Taishu's sacred capital, 5 huge stars appeared. They emitted terrifying heat, causing the temperature of the area to rise rapidly. Obviously, these 5 stars had been captured by Yelu Chuan from a distance. However, this was not the most shocking thing. The most shocking thing was yet to come. When the 5 stars approached Taishu's sacred capital, they began to shrink rapidly. It was as if there was an invisible force shrouding the 5 stars and compressing them, causing them to shrink continuously. Soon, the 5 stars were compressed into 5 round balls the size of walnuts. They were fiery red like 5 fiery red crystal beads and fell into Yelu Chuan's hand. Kacha! Kacha! Yelu Chuan held the 5 round balls in his hand and slowly played with them. When the people of the Taishu dynasty saw this, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were almost scared to death. Shock. Incomparable shock. Heartless and endless shock. God, what kind of power is this? Those were 5 incomparably huge stars, but with a casual grab from Yelu Chuan, they were compressed into 5 walnut-sized balls that he could grasp in his hand. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would never have dreamed that there was such a powerful person in the universe. What kind of cultivation was this? What kind of power was this? This level of strength was already inconceivable. An ordinary Sir God, if he attacked with all his strength, could cause a devastating blow to a planet. A battle between several slightly stronger divine lords could even blow up an ordinary planet with life. Of course, this referred to ordinary planets with life. Moreover, there were no defensive formations set up on them. A quasi-emperor level existence could easily blow up an ordinary planet with life. However, stars were different. The size of a star was often tens of thousands of times larger than an ordinary planet. It could even be hundreds of thousands, or even millions of times larger. It was too difficult to blow up a star. Quasi-emperors would never be able to do it. Even a divine emperor like Undying Demon could not do it. However, it was just destroying a star. Compared to the difficulty of grabbing 5 stars, compressing them into the size of walnuts, and playing with them in his hand, it was simply incomparable. The difference was like the difference between a candle flame and a bright moon. This kind of means was simply beyond the scope of their imagination. Was this the power of the Angel Clan, the overlord of the universe? This was too terrifying. Lu Ming had actually offended such a powerful person. There was only one outcome for him, and that was to be dead. Blue Merchant, Holy Old Heavenly King, Etion, and the others looked pale. They were worried about Lu Ming. Jingma, Kongshishue, and Undying Demon's eyes began to flicker. They were deep in thought. I'll give you a chance. Tell me the whereabouts of Lu Ming's family. Not only will I not kill you, but I will also reward you with a supreme opportunity. I don't have much time. Tell me quickly, Yilu Chuan said lightly. The struggle in Jingma, Kongshishue, and Undying Demon's eyes became more intense. They did not want to say anything, but the other party was too strong. Even if they did not say anything, they could not stop him from searching their souls. At most, we will die. Everyone. I believe in Lu Ming. He will avenge us. Blue Merchant roared. His eyes were filled with determination. You're courting death. The Angel Clan burly man who attacked previously roared. An invisible force pressed on Blue Merchant. With Blue Merchant's cultivation, he would definitely not be able to block this person's attack. He would die on the spot like the previous 8th-level Divine Lord General. However, at this moment, a cold voice sounded. I think you're the one courting death. Then, the space in front of Blue Merchant directly cracked. A figure suddenly emerged. The power of the Angel Clan's attack fell on this person, but it did not cause any ripples. End of chapter. Chapter 45-31. The person who had suddenly appeared was naturally Lu Ming. He had left the hidden dragon Heavenly King Palace and broken the void. His speed was astonishing. In a short while, he had arrived at the Taishu sacred capital. As soon as he arrived at the Taishu sacred capital, he saw the angel trying to kill Blue Merchant. Lu Ming was enraged. He shouted furiously and broke the void to appear in front of Blue Merchant. He blocked the attack for Blue Merchant. At the same time, a spear light suddenly appeared above the angel's head. The angel only had the cultivation of the first great supreme god layer. The difference between him and Lu Ming was too great. How could he block Lu Ming's attack? The Divine Lord of the Angel Clan had never thought that Lu Ming would suddenly appear. He wanted to save him, but it was too late. Poof! The angel's head was pierced through by the spear light. His soul was destroyed and he died on the spot. His corpse was sucked into the Taishu sacred capital and smashed into the city wall. This, Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. He killed the Angel Clan's expert? Jingma, Kongshishue, the Undying Demon King, Blue Merchant, and the others immediately noticed Lu Ming. They were astonished. Lu Ming had actually killed the burly man from the Angel Clan just now. Moreover, he had killed him in one move. The Angel Clan's expert strength had left a deep impression on them. He had silently killed an 8th great supreme god expert. His strength was unfathomable. He was definitely stronger than the Undying Demon King. Such an expert could easily destroy a force like the Taishu dynasty. He was an existence that was far beyond their reach. He was also an existence that was incomparably terrifying. Such an existence had been killed by Lu Ming in one move. After recovering from their shock, they took a deep breath. Lu Ming is already so strong? It seems like I have seriously underestimated him. Blue Merchant sighed in his heart. He's too strong. In just 1,000 years, Lu Ming has actually reached such a level. It's simply incredible. No wonder he was able to reshape the structure of the Taishu dynasty. He's even more amazing than Jingyu back then. Kang Shishue was also amazed, especially the undying Demon King, who could not help but break out in cold sweat, because he remembered that a few days ago, he seemed to have provoked Lu Ming and wanted to spar with Lu Ming. He even wanted to take down Lu Ming and have Lu Ming remove the anti-magic restriction on him. Thinking of this, he felt a lingering fear. His strength was too far from Lu Ming's. Wanting to spar with Lu Ming with this kind of strength, wasn't that just looking for a beating? Fortunately, he sensed Lu Ming's terrifying aura and stopped in time. At first, he thought that Lu Ming should have at least reached the third godly emperor layer, but now he realized that he had underestimated Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming has already reached the high-level godly emperor layer, or even the legendary divine emperor layer? But he has only been away for 1,000 years. How is that possible? The undying Demon King could not figure it out. Lu Ming. It's Lu Ming. The angels, the Blood Clan, and the Wu people were also shocked. They had come here to capture Lu Ming's family and friends, and then hand them over to the heavenly human clan to threaten Lu Ming. They had never thought that Lu Ming himself would be there too. Great, haha. Yilu Chuan reacted quickly and couldn't help but laugh wildly. The Blood Clan and the Wu people also reacted the same way. If Lu Ming was there, why would they capture Lu Ming's family and friends? Wouldn't it be more meritorious for them to capture Lu Ming and hand him over to the heavenly human clan? Bang! One of the Blood Clan's divine lords stepped into the air, exuding a terrifying aura. Under this aura, the entire starry sky was trembling. Then, Wu Si, Yilu Chuan, and the others of the Wu people also released powerful qi. Rumble. It was as if the sky and the earth had turned upside down, the sun and the moon had sunk, and the boundless starry sky was shaking. The stars in the distance were shaking as if they were about to fall. The qi of a godly master was too terrifying. Lu Ming used forbidden strength to envelop Blue Merchant and the others. Otherwise, they would not be able to withstand such a powerful qi and would be crushed to death. Haha, as the saying goes, a well-intentioned flower doesn't bloom, but an unintentional willow grows. Lu Ming, you delivered yourself to me. Good, very good, very good. Yilu Chuan laughed. Lu Ming, surrender yourself without putting up a fight. A godly master of the Blood Clan said, You want to capture me with just you? Haha. Lu Ming sneered. To be honest, he didn't take these people seriously. These people actually found this place, making him feel waves of lingering fear in his heart. Fortunately, he had come back early. If he had come back a few days later, not only would the Taishu dynasty be in danger, but his family and friends would also be in danger. He had put these people on his must-kill list. In his heart, they were already dead. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're too arrogant. I admit that you're very talented. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that you're the best in the universe. But do you really think you can fight against me? Yilu Chuan sneered confidently. Lu Ming's cultivation was merely at the 9th level of the Emperor God realm. Yes, he didn't know that Lu Ming had broken through to the godly master realm. The heavenly human race knew that Lu Ming had broken through to the godly master realm in the life-soul, heavenly court. However, in the eyes of the heavenly human race, the Blood Clan, and the other races were just slaves. The heavenly human race didn't have the habit of ruling over their slaves. In fact, Lu Ming had broken through to the godly master realm not long ago. Even among the heavenly human race, only a few people knew about it. The angels, the Blood Clan, and the Wu people didn't know that Lu Ming had broken through to the godly master realm. They still thought that Lu Ming was a 9th-level divine god. Moreover, Yilu Chuan was a 2nd-level divine lord, not a 1st-level divine lord. Naturally, he didn't put Lu Ming under pressure. You can try, Lu Ming said indifferently. Don't overestimate yourself. Kneel. Yilu Chuan shouted and slapped down. This palm was 100 times more dazzling than the sun. A huge palm formed in the sky and pressed down on Lu Ming. When the palm struck out, the starry sky trembled. The universe couldn't withstand such a terrifying power. Huge cracks appeared and stretched endlessly. Some of the stars, including the stars, directly exploded. Terrifying, too terrifying. This kind of attack could destroy the world. Jingma, Kong Shishue, Undying Demon King, and the others couldn't help but tremble under the attack. Deep fear rose in their hearts. Helplessness. Under such an attack, they felt a deep sense of helplessness. No matter what they did, they could not escape. There was only death. Their souls would scatter, and they would be turned into ashes. It's over. Jingma, Kong Shishue, Undying Demon King, and the others thought. Lu Ming, go go. Don't worry about us. Blue Merchant shouted. However, Lu Ming still had a faint smile on his face. Lan Shu, it's okay. I'll go take their heads. Lu Ming smiled. Then, a terrifying aura erupted from his body as if a volcano had erupted. Then, he punched. End of chapter. Chapter 45-32. Lu Ming threw a punch. A bright fist force erupted, piercing through the void and colliding with Yelu Chuan's condensed palm. It directly pierced through Yelu Chuan's fist force. Your cultivation. How is that possible? Yelu Chuan couldn't believe it, shouting in shock. Lu Ming's aura burst out, revealing his cultivation level. Divine Lord Realm. Lu Ming's cultivation level was at the Divine Lord Realm. Yelu Chuan was shocked, as were the experts of the angel race, the blood race, and the Wu people. When he was in the Grand Supreme Immortal City, Lu Ming's cultivation level was only at the 9th level of the Emperor God Realm. According to reliable sources, Lu Ming's cultivation level had just broken through to the 9th level of the Emperor God Realm. He had not been in the 9th level of the Emperor God Realm for a long time. Lu Ming had accumulated so much in just a few years. He had broken through to the Divine Lord Realm. Jingma, Kong Shishue, the Immortal Demon King, Blue Merchant, and the others were also shocked. Lu Ming's aura was too terrifying, giving them a feeling that it was boundless, unfathomable, and unfathomable. Yelu Chuan's horrifying palm strike, that seemingly irresistible palm strike, was actually defeated by Lu Ming's punch. Was this Lu Ming's real strength? They couldn't calm down. Old man, I'll send you to hell. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning, emitting cold killing intent. He took a step forward and charged towards Yelu Chuan. All the cells in his body trembled. Vast and boundless taboo power surged out continuously, converging into a vast ocean-like power that surged toward Lu Ming's fists. Boom! Lu Ming punched again, shattering the void. The terrifying fist energy pierced through the universe and headed towards Yelu Chuan. Before the fist energy reached him, the pressure from the void had already pressed down on some of the angel race, the blood race, and the Wu people. These people had pained looks on their faces as they howled in pain. Cracks could be seen on the surface of these people's bodies. Under the terrifying pressure, their bodies became distorted and deformed, and finally, with a bang, they exploded. Before the fist force arrived, more than 20 people from the 3 races were killed by the pressure of the fist force. All of this took a long time to describe, but it actually happened in an instant. In an instant, the fist energy closed in on Yelu Chuan, locking him in place. Angel Battle Sword. Yelu Chuan roared. 10 angelic wings appeared on his back. Holy light soared to the sky as an angelic sword flew out, slashing out a terrifying sword light that collided with Lu Ming's fist energy. Boom! With a deafening boom, Yelu Chuan's body was sent flying, crashing into a distant planet. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was extremely pale. A large hole had been blasted in his chest. His front and back were completely transparent. His body had almost been blasted into 2. In one move, Yelu Chuan was severely injured. This time, the remaining people of the angels, the blood tribe, and the sorcerer tribe were all stunned. Yelu Chuan was a 2nd-level divine lord, but he was severely injured in one move. How could Lu Ming's battle strength be so terrifying? Run, run. Leave this place. We're no match for him. Then, the angels, vampires, and Wu people panicked. They roared and tried to escape. Although the three races had 5 divine lords and the vampires had a second-level divine lord, they knew that even if they worked together, they were no match for Lu Ming. You can't escape. Lu Ming's cold voice rang out. He activated the battle character manual, increasing his battle strength by 7 times. He waved his hands, and a continent appeared in the sky. The second move of his self-created secret technique, the primordial desolate form. In an instant, the continent expanded rapidly. It was even larger than the great illusionary Saint realm. It covered the sky and the sun, enveloping all the people of the 3 races. Then, he pressed down. Kaboom! The violent energy shook the heavens and the earth. The people of the 3 races had nowhere to run. Block it. Let's attack together. A divine lord from the blood race roared. He transformed into his true form, which was a giant bat. When he spread his wings, they were tens of thousands of miles long. Moreover, the bat's wings were golden. When he flapped his wings, there was an explosion of bloody light. This was a second-layer divine master, and his terrifying aura made Lan Shang, undying demon king, and the others turn pale. In addition, there was another first-level divine lord from the blood race. He also transformed into his true form. The other masters of the blood race also transformed into their true forms. The angels of the angel race spread their wings. Holy light spread out and illuminated the sky. The Wu people also attacked with all their might. Black fog filled the sky. The masters of the 3 races joined forces and attacked the primordial desolate continent with the strongest attack of their lives. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The universe shook violently. Then, the attacks of the 3 races collapsed. They couldn't stop Lu Ming's attack at all. Ah! Screams rang out. The bodies of the masters below the divine lord realm of the 3 races exploded. Their souls were destroyed by the powerful force. They died on the spot. When the primordial desolate continent pressed down, all the masters below the divine lord realm of the 3 races died. Only 4 divine master realm existences were still alive. There was a first-level divine lord from the angel race, a second-level divine lord, and a first-level divine lord from the blood race, and Wu Si from the Wu people. The 4 of them trembled violently, especially the 3 first-level divine lords. Cracks appeared on their skin, and they spat out mouthfuls of blood. The second-level divine lord from the blood race was also injured. One of his golden wings was destroyed. This, Blue Merchant, Jingma, Kong Shishue, Undying Demon King, Thousand Saint Old Heavenly King, and the others had their mouths wide open. They were completely stunned and petrified. At this moment, they felt as if their brains had turned into mush. They couldn't understand what was going on. The shock in his heart could not be greater. One move. With just one move, only a few of the hundreds of masters were left. Those masters who seemed to be lawless and as vast as the abyss, as if they could destroy the universe, were also injured by Lu Ming's attack. As for the others, they died immediately. There were hundreds of masters, and each of them seemed to have terrifying strength. Just now, several hundred people had joined forces to erupt, and each of them had displayed incomparably terrifying strength. They felt that any one of them was stronger than Undying Demon King. Any one of them could defeat the Tegzu dynasty, the barbarian race, and the Tinyi sacred dynasty. So many masters, and they had joined forces, but they were killed by Lu Ming with one move. Lu Ming's strength was so strong that it was unimaginable. Undying Demon King's body kept trembling. He was afraid. Previously, he wanted to fight with Lu Ming, but he was simply overestimating himself. He was courting death. Lu Ming might be able to crush him into smithereens and destroy his body and soul. Jingma, Kong Shishue, and the others were also shocked. It had only been 1,000 years since Lu Ming left the Taishu dynasty, and he had reached such an unbelievable level. Was he still human? End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.